Hi, everyone. Hope that you can hear me. This is Diego Martin. I'm the product manager at Bespoken, and I'm very happy and thankful that you are all here. And today this webinar is going to be about how to do better code for your voice applications faster and free. So before starting, I just wanted to let you know that this webinar is being recorded. So you are all going to get the recording at the end of this session. And all the slides that I'm going to show today are going to be provided to you. So don't worry about it. All the information is going to be available. Also, you have a right window. At the right of your window, you have a chat tab where you can ask me questions whenever you like, which we are going to review at the end of the meeting. And you have a polls tab. It would be very helpful for us if you could fill that poll. With that said, let's start with this presentation. Just a sec, I'm going to share my screen. So once again, the title for this webinar is Better Voice Application Code Faster and Free. Well, that is a question, and the answer by the end of this meeting, I hope that you all find that it's yes, it's possible using our Bespoken tools. So what are we going to do today? Well, first, I want to introduce who we are and what we do. Then I'm going to talk about how we approach testing in general. And then we are going to get into the core of this webinar, which is the manual testing using the BST proxy and the unit testing using BST test. Once I finish with this, we are going to get to the conclusions, which we think that testing is a superpower, and we're going to see why. And then we're going to tackle all the questions that you have, and I'm going to leave you with contact information and helpful links. So who we are? Well, we are Bespoken. We are a company that provide monitoring and testing tools for voice applications. And today, well, I'm doing this webinar. I'm Diego Martin. Like I said, I'm the product manager at Bespoken, but I'm also joined here by John Kelby, which is our founder and CEO, Guy Borford, which is our business development lead, Ivan Perez from customer success, and Karen Guerrero from marketing. So feel free to ask any questions on the chat windows to any of them as well. And what is it that we do? Well, we provide monitoring and testing tools for voice applications, and we are a recognized vendor of both Amazon and Google. Right now we have over 1,000 apps being monitored, and more than 5,000 developers are using our tools already. We have a long history with the speech and recognition, with the speech recognition and AI. Our founder and CEO, John Kelby, actually was working on its own speech recognition system before founding Bespoken, and all that knowledge is now part of this company. So how is it that we approach testing at Bespoken? Well, at Bespoken, we see testing as different layers. We used to show this as a cake. Well, we've modified a bit. These are the layers that we think are the testing layers now. And I've highlighted here the manual and unit testing because this is what we are going to see on this webinar. And basically, the manual and unit testing should be the first steps when you start developing a voice application. And it will ensure that your code works correctly. We have other test layers that can work for QA people, tester, and DevOps. And I'm going to talk about this a bit, but at the end of this presentation. I just want to focus first on the manual and unit testing, which is what you all came to see here today. So for manual testing, we know that this is essential during the initial phases of development. When you start building an application, the first thing that you need to look at is, well, if it's really working with Alexa, with Google, if it responds, and well, that everything works correctly, right? So on that stage, usually you would test with your physical device, be it an Amazon Echo or a Google Home. Or you can also use voice-based tools like EchoSim.io or the River app, and also the Google Assistant on your phone or the Alexa app on your phone. Today, we're going to look at another tool developed by us, which is the BST command line interface. And that command line has some useful commands like the proxy, utter, intent, and speak that should help you during this stage, so that it's going to be the tests are going to be faster and easier. So to start with that, I have developed a skill that we are going to work with on this webinar, and I thought about doing something fun. So just for a sec, let me show you. I have the Alexa application on my phone, and I developed a Pokédex. If you recall, well, if you remember your childhood, you probably were a fan of Pokemon. I was too. So I thought about doing a Pokédex as a skill. So let's try that. Alexa, open webinar Pokédex.
To know about.
Sorry, I had the phone on mute. Alexa, open the webinar Pokédex.
Sorry, I couldn't understand what.
Alexa, open webinar Pokédex.
Sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
Just a sec. Alexa, open webinar Pokédex.
Sorry, I couldn't understand what you said.
I don't know what's happening. Just a sec. I can show you that also. On the Alexa Developer Console, I have this Pokédex right here, and we're going to go into the test tab of the Alexa Developer Console.
Welcome to the webinar Pokédex. Which number of Pokemon would you like to know about?
At this stage, on this skill, we can just say a number, like 6.
The Pokemon at 6 is Charizard.
And
if Charizard becomes furious, the flame at the tip of its
we're going to get the
tail
description of that Pokemon that we've asked about. It's really a shame that it didn't work right now on my Alexa app, because I'm also showing here like the image of the Pokemon, so it's quite a nice skill, seems quite a nice and simple skill. But anyway, we see that it's working here. And if you've developed an Alexa skill before, you know that, well, probably you have your code stored or uploaded into a Lambda function. And then you have, and then here you would modify everything related to your interaction model. So whenever you want to do a change here and to this skill, you need to, well, change your code, upload your code to AWS Lambda. And if you want to change maybe a utterance, then you would have to come here. You would have to come here and modify your intent to add another utterance. So that usually takes some time. If right now I have 5 utterances here, and if I were to add a new one, like let me know about Pokemon number and the slot which I called number, and I would have to add this here, save the model, build the model, and this could take some time. It usually takes a minute or two, but when you're on the earlier stages of development, well, that minute or two can turn into several minutes, right? So what we developed at Bespoken is a tool that we call the BST proxy, and what the BST proxy does is basically you can have your device here, and that is going to Alexa service, but it's going to be intercepted by our proxy service. Our proxy service is then going to reach your local environment. This way, you can modify your code and you can modify your interaction model without the need to do redeployments or without the need of rebuilding your interaction model on the Alexa developer console. So let's see how that works. All right, so the first thing that you will need to do would be to install our Bespoken Tools library, and that you do by typing npm install bespoken-tools -g, and this is going to install the Bespoken Tools library globally. I already have it installed, so this is just going to do an update. And well, this could take, I don't know, around 15 to 20 seconds, but it's just one time. You just need to do this one time. So now let's go into the code of that skill. And here I have the handler for the launch request. And here you can see what you already saw on the Alexa test console. Basically, we are going to reply with welcome to the webinar Pokédex and which number of Pokemon would you like to know about. So let's try this with the BST proxy. Just wait a couple of seconds until it finishes installing. But well, what I wanted to show you is the following. We can do changes to the code here. We can say, instead of welcome to the webinar Pokédex, we can say, welcome to the webinar Pokédex, everyone. And we can do changes also to the interaction model, which we have right here. And here I have the sample utterances that you saw on the Alexa test console. And I can add another one. Let's add this. Let me know about the number. So we've done these changes. We haven't uploaded anything to Alexa. Oh, man, this is taking some time. Oh, seems like, yeah, that's it. All right, so once you have the library installed, you should go into the folder where you have your index.js file. All right, so we're going to go into Lambda. Sorry. Oh, I was already here. So I'm already on the folder where I have my index.js file, and I'm just going to type BST proxy lambda to indicate that this is a lambda function that we are going to launch, and then point to the index.js file. So this will run the proxy on the background. Now, on a new tab, we are going to go to the root folder. Yes, right here, where we have our models folder. And we're going to do we're going to use another command from the BST CLI, and that command is called utter. And basically here we are simulating talking with Alexa. So, oh, sorry, no, that was wrong. The first command that we need to know about is the BST launch. So this is going to simulate a launch request done to our skill. So I'm just going to type BST launch. And what we are seeing here is in orange, we see a request that would be sent to ABS. So this is the JSON, the typical JSON payload. And this is the response. And right from the start, we can see that we haven't uploaded anything to AWS. We haven't rebuilt our model on the Alexa developer console, but we can see the code changes right here. And yeah, and then we are asking here, which number of Pokemon would you like to know about, right? So then I can use this other command, which is BST utter, and I can say, I don't know, 7. And we get the response here. So we see the JSON payload here that says, well, this is an SSML saying that the Pokemon at 7 is a Squirtle. And well, we can see the reprompt if would you like to ask for another Pokemon. We could still play with BST utter and just say yes. And this is going to ask us which number of Pokemon once again. We can say BST utter, I don't know, 25. So this is a quick way of testing our code, the same way that we test this on the Alexa developer console. But not only that, remember that we changed the interaction model. So right now it's asking us, would you like to ask for another Pokemon? We can say BST utter. Let me remember what is it that I put in here. I said, let me know about the number. So let me know about the number, I don't know, 50. Okay, and 50 is Diglett. So you can see that what I've done is I never rebuilt the model. I never uploaded the code to a Lambda function again. I did changes to the model and I did changes to my code and I could test those locally. Not only that, when we first started the Bespoken Proxy, we were presented with this public URL. If we take this URL here and we copy that to the Alexa developer console, we can go into the endpoint tab right here. And right now this is pointing to a Lambda ARN, but I can change that to point to an HTTPS server. I can enter that URL here, and I should, for this to work, I need to select the second option on this dropdown and just save the endpoints. I'm going to try once again with the Alexa app. So just a sec. Yeah, just a sec. Alexa, open webinar Pokédex.
Welcome to the webinar Pokédex, everyone. Which number of Pokemon would you like to know about?
6.
The Pokemon at 6 is Charizard. It is said that Charizard's fire burns hotter if it has experienced harsh battles. Would you like to ask for another Pokemon?
So if you notice, it said welcome to the webinar Pokédex, everyone. And that code is not on a Lambda function uploaded to a Lambda on AWS yet. That code is only stored locally. So We can even see here on the tab where I started the BSD proxy that we received a request from AWS. So this is the real request coming back from there. And this is the response that we sent. And you already saw this time on, oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. All right, sorry. So if we go back to the tab where I started the BSD proxy, you can see here that we got the requests and we send the responses that I sent from my smartphone. So I think this is quite helpful when you're starting with development for voice applications. I should know that we are focusing on Alexa right now, but the BSD proxy also works for Google Actions. So it should be very helpful when for your development team when it starts creating voice applications. That's it for the BSD proxy. I'm back to the chat window for a second and see if there is any question. All right, just a sec. Okay, I think the questions have already been answered. So let's go into the next portion of this webinar. All right, so we saw the BSD proxy, which is for manual testing. What would be the next logical step? When you are developing voice applications, you are usually going to add more and more complexity to your code. If we take a look at my code right here, what we've tested right now is basically just these two handlers, the launch request handler and the Pokédex intent handler. But you are usually required to fill other handlers like for help intents, for cancel and stop, for ending a session, or whenever there is an error. So to test this manually would seriously take too much time, would be difficult to do. And if you're not using the BSD proxy, then you would have to be all the time on the Alexa developer console, all the time uploading your stuff, or all the time talking with your Amazon Echo, right? So the next logical step would be to have automated tests here, especially unit tests that, well, will prevent us from breaking our functionality as we add more and more complexity to our code. So at Bespoken, we've developed a solution for that. Like I said, during development, the unit testing will help us find bugs quite quickly. A good thing about it is that it doesn't have really dependencies. And it will also let you know how much of your code you are covering with your tests. So we've developed a solution that is based on YAML scripts. And we are also using an Alexa emulator that we call Virtual Alexa that was developed by us so that you can run everything locally. And we're also using a specialized version of Jest so that we can interpret those YAML scripts and turn it into, well, real unit tests, right? This solution has been really helpful for us and really successful. Alexa has made us part of their tutorials now, and you can check that out here on their own GitHub repository. And I'm going to show you now how to work with those. So let's go back to our code. And here I already have a folder called test. And on this folder, I'm going to create a YAML script. So to follow the convention, since we are testing the index.js file, I'm going to call this file index.test.yaml. All right. And on this file, I'm going to store all the unit tests that I want to run against my code. So basically, this file is going to work as a test suite. And for each test suite, we need to provide the first thing that we need to do is to provide some basic configuration. I promise it's not much, it's just, sorry. You just need to type configuration, then locales. Here you are going to specify the locales that you are testing for. So my skill is in English from the US, and this is defined by my interaction model. So this is important in the sense that this unit test is gonna run against this interaction model right here. So that is the only thing I need to set up for now. If you are aware, you might have seen that I have another file right here, which is called testing.json. Configuration no works just for this test suite. The testing.json file has configurations that are global to all your test suites if you keep adding more YAML scripts here. If we take a quick look at that, the only thing I have right here is a property called handler, and it's pointing to the index.js file. So this is how we tie our code to our interaction model, by setting here the handler, and on this file we set the locale of this test. That is all the minimal configuration that you need to do. And with that, we can work on our first test. So this is how a test is built. Basically, you just add a test name here, and what I want to test first is just to do a launch request and do no further interaction. So I'm going to call this launch request and no further interaction. Then the following lines should be the ones that test your intents. And on this case, we have a special word, which is launch request, that will simulate just launching the skill. So when setting this up, we are telling the unit test to launch the skill. Then we can add a colon. And on the right side, what we are going to type here is what we expect to get from that launch request. In this case, we know that whenever we do a launch request, we are replied with welcome to the webinar Pokédex. Now, I'm going to copy that, I'm going to put it here. And basically this is an assertion. And this colon right here is an operator. We have multiple operators for this, but the colon acts kind of like a like statement on a database. And it also accepts regular expressions. So I can put here, welcome to the webinar Pokédex, and then a star. And basically I'm testing here that whenever I launch my skill, I want a response that includes welcome to the webinar Pokédex. So let's try that. Let's go once again into my terminal. I'm going to stop the proxy here. And for this, you need to be on your root folder. Yeah, so that it can find both the tests and the interaction models. And you just need to type bfc test. So it found the index.test.yaml file. It found our test right here, and it passed. And we are presented with a nice summary of what we just did. We've tested two files actually, because the index.js file calls the util.js file, and we've tested a percentage of statements, a percentage of functions, some percentage of lines, and we can see the uncovered lines as well. If we go back to our code, we can also see that there's a new folder here, which is called coverage. And on this folder, we are presented with a nice coverage report in HTML. So I'm going to take a quick look at that. And we can see right here that both the index.js and the util.js files were tested. And if I go here, I can see on green the lines that were covered, and on red the lines that were not covered by our tests. So this is the most basic test right now. Let's go one step further. But if I want to test a specific intent, so I can do the following. I'm going to copy this right here. And I'm going to call this launch and then ask for help. So we are going to test the help intent. It's not needed just leave it blank, or you can even ignore it completely. That depends up to you and the flow that you are testing. So in this case, I'm going to do a launch and then I'm going to call the Amazon.help intent. So if I go back to my code once again and I see the intent, the help intent, I know that the help prompt is going to say, tell me the number of a Pokemon you would like to know about. So I can just enter that. Now, just for this test, let's try something different. Let's make it fail. Let's do a typo here. And I go back to here and I do VST test again. I can see that this test failed. And I'm going to know why, because I expected a value, tell me the number of a Pokemon you would like to know a bit, but I received something else. So this is a quick way also of identifying issues in your code. Let's fix that. And now our test should pass. As you can see, the coverage is increasing and the number of the percentage of lines covered, of course, has increased as well. Now, this skill accepts a slot, right? When you ask, when the skill asks for a Pokemon number. So what about that? So we can do launch and then ask for Pikachu. I'm going to do a launch request, and then here I'm going to put the name of the intent, which is Pokédex intent, the name of the slot, which is number, and then that equals to 25. So I know, or I hope, that the number 25 is Pikachu and that Pikachu is included somewhere in the response. Let's try this once again. And yep, it totally worked. What else? We can add more and more complexity to these sets. But something that we like about them is that if you take a look, they are really not that difficult to set up. So we think that even people with not much code experience can handle those and handle these scripts and can build their own scripts. And we can, like I said, add more complexity to it. We know that in voice applications, usually you don't always answer with the same thing, right? We try to make the conversation as real as possible. So we usually would respond with different phrases to our users so that they don't always get the same response. So what about that case? Okay. Actually, this skill kind of does the same because it replies with different responses for the same Pokemon each time. So we can try that as well. And this time I'm going to ask for, I don't know, Bulbasaur, which is, I think is number 1. And so for Bulbasaur, what would we expect to be on the Pokédex entry? There could be multiple valid responses, right? So in this case, what we are going to do is we are going to say that we are testing this time just the prompt, which is what we've been testing up until now. But this time we need to make it explicit. And here we can add multiple valid responses. So I don't know, I expect on the Pokédex entry for there to be green, for there to be sun, for there to be seeds or seed. Let's try that for now. I'm not sure if this is going to work or not right now, but okay, it didn't work. Oh, sorry, what happened here? Not sure what happened here. So apparently, and I forgot this, this is case sensitive. So, but for Bulbasaur it worked. Now, well, this is how you would do it, how you would test with multiple valid responses. What else? So far, I've only been testing the prompt, and well, we all know that the skills do have more than the prompt. They will reply. If we take a look at the requests and responses that we were trying before with the BST proxy, we see that there are other properties here, like the well, the type of the output speech, maybe the reprompt, or maybe the card and the image. So what if we want to test that those properties are coming back correctly as well? Well, on that case, we use JSONPath. I don't know if you're familiar with JSONPath, but JSONPath will basically let you query a JSON. And well, we need to know what we are testing, right? So we can do something very helpful here, which is go back to our testing.json file, and we can add another property here, which is called trace, and we can set this to true. So the trace property is basically going to print to the console all the requests and responses that are being generated while doing this test. So once again, I'm gonna run BST test here, and well, this time it's going to be pretty loaded, right? Because we are seeing the requests here and the responses that we are getting back. So for example, here for this Bulbasaur test, I want to test that the card type is standard. So what I would do is, I know that this is under response, then card, and then type. So I would go back to my test. And I would just say here, response, that card, that type. And I want that to be a standard, which is what I saw on the response. We can test that again. I'm going to turn off this. And we see that it works. Once again, another benefit of this unit test is that everything is run locally with our virtual Alexa. So you don't need, once again, to do any deployment or any interaction model building before testing your changes. You can make use of this CLI and integrate that into your CI or CD process, so that anytime that you do changes and push changes to your repository, you run these tests and you know that you are not breaking anything. And so far, just by doing this, if I go back to the coverage, it looks much better now than it did before. And it didn't take us really a lot. Now, I know that for unit testing, there are much more complex cases. You might want to mock a database, test the address API or an account linking. Well, those are more advanced topics, and we do give support to those. I'm not going to show them today because that would take us probably more time than we are allowed to. But I do invite you to go into read.bespoken.io, and there you will find in-depth guides for the CLI in our proxy and our unit testing. So here, for example, under use cases, you will find how to test with Dynamo, how to test the address API, and also here, I think it's right here, there's one feature, especially filtering intercept requests and responses when doing your tests, that is quite helpful and probably the most used feature to overcome any mocking that you need to do while doing unit tests. Yeah, so that's it for unit testing. Let's go back to my presentation. So I told you that I wanted to talk about the other layers pretty quickly once I had finished with the manual and unit testing. Well, the other layers of testing that we have, the manual and unit testing, sorry, are free. Our tools are free and they are open source for all of you to use. And then we have the other layers, which are the end-to-end testing. Basically, the end-to-end testing will ensure that your app works correctly, but also integrating the real ABS in there, the real Alexa or even the real Google Assistant services in there. So on this layer, what we do is we use the same scripting syntax that I show you right now, but this time we'll take the text, we'll convert that to speech and send it to Alexa or to Google, get the real response from them, and then turn that into text again so that you can do assertions against them. For continuous testing, we have monitoring. Basically, we are offering a product right there that will do end-to-end testing every 30 minutes so that you know that your application is working correctly all the time and will notify you if it's not. And finally, another product that we have and that we are really excited about is the usability performance testing. With the unit testing right now, we are ensuring that our code works correctly. But if you have already experience with Alexa or with Google, one of the biggest annoyances that the users have and reason for getting a lot of negative reviews on your skills is basically the speech recognition. And sometimes that is not really up to the developer, right? You might be asking maybe for a CD, and then the user that is interacting with your skill maybe has a different accent, or I don't know, just a different voice, right? So that is not, that Alexa cannot recognize correctly. Well, we've developed a solution there that will test thousands of utterances and slots with different voices, from men, from women, from girls and boys, with different accents, so that you can know for sure which are the intents and the slots that are harder to reach and harder to fill, so that you can take actions to fix that. And we are going to recommend you actions to fix that as well. These other products are not part, like I said, of this webinar. I just wanted to let you know about them, but you can go once again into read.bespoken.io, or you can check in our webpage our past webinars, and if you want to get more information on them. To conclude, well, to us, testing is a superpower. As you saw in this demo, with testing, you get much faster times to troubleshoot your problems. You are gonna get much faster build and test cycles. Kind of like a superhero, if you create a lot of, like a superhero team, if you create a lot of tests, the components, once they are joined together, will create something bigger. And we like to say that this is going to make you 10 times faster, or a 10x developer. And that's not because you are going to get smarter or anything like that, but it will make you much more productive. Finally, if you are interested in our products, know that the tools that I showed today are free, are open source, and will remain that way. Once again, you can learn more at read.bespoken.io. If you are interested in the tips, and you have a free trial, and you can start that if you go into our webpage, bespoken.io, here under Get Started, or directly on apps.bespoken.io. Here you will get a 30-day trial. If you're looking to improve the speech recognition for your voice apps, like I said, what you need is the usability performance testing, and you can take a look at our most recent webinar on that. Not only that, at Bespoken, we also offer automation acceleration. We can set up your initial test and your continuous integration. We can train your team, and we can hand off all that we've done to them. Or you can outsource your testing with us. Finally, if you want to contact us, the web is bespoken.io. Our Twitter is bespoken.io. And here you have our mails from John, Guy, and me. They are pretty easy to remember. So like I said, I'm going to share this presentation with you, and I hope that today's presentation has been helpful. And with that, if you have any questions, or if there is any question remaining, feel free to ask. I'm looking here at the questions. Renor is asking us if the new APL features, touch events, will be included in the newer versions of the tool. Right, this right now is not part of our tool, as you saw, but we are making progress on that. We are constantly evolving the tool to include new features coming from both ABS and from Google. So yeah, I hope you should expect to see that somewhere down the road. As you saw, we basically work directly with the payloads that come back from ABS. So it's just a matter of handling those. Any other question? We still have some minutes. A quick reminder, please, if you can go into our poll tab and fill it out, that would be really helpful for us to improve these presentations and to improve our products, which is only going to benefit the devs after all. All right, I don't see any new questions. I want to thank you all for attending to this webinar. It's been my first webinar, and I'm pretty happy that that you showed up and how it turned out. And I hope to see you soon on future webinars. And well, if you need my contact, you will have my email on the slides. For anything that you need, be sure to reach out to me or to anyone at Bespoken. Thank you very much. Well then, see you in our next webinar. Thank you all and have a great evening.